Mike Onzuka. I've been training around 23 years or so, and I'm a third-degree black belt under Relson Gracie. So my brother Chris started in November '91, and I started January '92. And what we did was we started realizing that we had a big mouth, so we had to learn something to back our mouth up, right, in case somebody calls us on it. So we started researching all these different martial arts, and I guess Steven Seagal was starting to get good, so I read basically everything I get in hold of Steven Seagal, so every single Aikido books. I know the history of Aikido. We practice a little bit of techniques at home. And then there's this black belt magazine, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu versus the World. So I read that article and basically said these Gracie brothers will fight to the death, or $100,000 challenge to prove how good their martial art was. So $100,000 challenge. So I figured if these guys are bad enough to kind of put their lives on the line, then we're going to basically go and check these guys out. These guys got to be bad. And luckily, at the end of the interview, article, they basically said Relson Gracie teaches at UH at Studio 4, or actually Studio at UH University of Hawaii. So Chris started like searching all over the place trying to locate him, and nobody knew anything about his classes or whatever. So we kind of were lost the track. Just so happened, Chris changed his major to like being an airplane mechanic for some strange reason. He had to actually take some remedial courses to go back, so he went to HCC, which is community college. The guy sitting next to him was a Aikido black belt, and that guy's friend next to him took jiu-jitsu, or knew somebody who took jiu-jitsu. So there's a total chance that the guy that we took. So the guy basically told Chris what times they practice, and what days. So Chris popped in, took a look at it. He said it was pretty awesome. I went there, checked it out. So he started in November. I had to switch my schedule, so I couldn't take that November, so I had to wait till January. And tracked them down, and first Chris was like, oh, you continue Aikido, I'll take Jiu-Jitsu, and then we'll just kind of teach each other. And I was like, screw that, I could see already how good the martial art was. Like, no. And we're ultra competitive, yeah, so we compete in everything. Brushing our teeth, running to school, better grades, you name it, who gets dressed first, who runs, so who does everything. Everything is competition to us. So we end up like taking class, and obviously, this is way before the UFC in '92. So when we started training, it was basically like a Shark Tank. Yeah, Relson wasn't like a good businessman in regards to like encouraging people and you know, being real nice to the guys. He was pretty much, I think, in his prime, and he trained us like pretty much like animals. As a Shark Tank. Yeah, you go there, and it's basically kill or be killed. Yeah. When we started, we used to do intervals, and our intervals basically was the huge mat was like a huge long mat, so we'd have like maybe 40 guys, and it would ever take 20 to 40 guys. We'd have to line with 2 lines, and you wrestle each guy for 5, 6, 7 minute intervals. And in those times, you couldn't get out the mat. If you're tired, you have to suck it up and stay in there. If you got off the mat, what happened was the guys would go there and just basically tag team you after the mat and beat the crap out of you to make you think that, hey, you got to stay in there and take your lickings. So we knew that, and we were one of the smallest guys there when we started. So we used to do carpool there. So literally, it was so bad that every class I went to, I'd be driving to the class and I'd be getting butterflies. Like I know I'm gonna get beat up. You know, they had like the schoolyard bullies waiting for me after class. So every class I went there, I just got like smashed, beat up. I call it essentially like the Gracie Revolution, yeah. So when we went out there and started, so we actually we heard the first presentation by Horian trying to get investors for the UFC. We were there, and then we had an opportunity to go, so we all kind of got a group together and went out to the first UFC. So we're the guys there at the UFC with the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu t-shirts, and nobody knew what Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was, so that was kind of cool to be there. And then once that happened, literally, it just kind of just basically blew up. So it was pretty much a almost exclusive club that really nobody knew jiu-jitsu. And once you started getting that, and we used to kind of just beat the crap out of each other, you know what I mean? And also we used to get the crap beat of us. And I always tell the guys that when I started, I didn't tap anywhere for 6 months. So there's guys that come to school and like, oh, I've been here 3 classes, 2 classes, I never tap anybody. I'm like, try to go there for 6 months straight, 3 days a week. I've never missed class in probably my first 4 or 5 years of training jiu-jitsu. and just go there and get beat up like 20, 30 times a night, you know? So I said, you're talking to the wrong guy, man. You got to take your lumps.
No sympathy.
This is what happens, bro. And you either get tough or you quit. So a lot of guys end up quitting. So there's a whole bunch of guys you talk to them. Yeah, I took classes at UH, and I should have continued, but realistically, we were getting smashed so much that literally you kind of had to be a different type of mindset to kind of stay in class and suck it up. So after that, then as soon as the Gracie Revolution kind of occurred, then we had like 80 to 100 white belt classes, 40 blue belt classes. We had 100 guys on the waiting list. Yeah, so this is pretty much in 95. So literally in July 95, I also picked the four of us to basically open his first branch school. So it was myself, my brother, Scott Devine, and Sam Oahu. So we had a bunch of private classes, went to Helson's garage, where he had all his mats up, and then we'd have just a ton of private. So a lot of self-defense, a lot of positions and stuff, and kept on drilling us over and over and over and over again to make sure that we knew what we're doing. And literally, I think we're like the only guys he really trained to teach, and obviously because of the first school. So in July 95, we opened up Academia Casca Grossa de Jiu-Jitsu, which is the first Relson Gracie association, and we're still open. We changed our name to O2 Martial Arts Academy now, because Academia Casca Grossa de Jiu-Jitsu is a cool jiu-jitsu name, but nobody could write the checks properly. They couldn't say it right, so marketing-wise, it was a terrible name. So when we moved into our own place, we changed our name, and when we started, we trained the guys like how Relson trained us. So we had a 100-guy waiting list. We had 40 guys on Tuesday, 40 guys on Thursday, so we trained them as hard as possible. And the guys couldn't handle it. We said, there's the door. I said, we got 100 guys waiting for you to take your spot. And we got left with the baddest 40 guys that we could get our hands on, trained them hard. They got really, really good really fast. And our guys started doing really, really good in tournaments, and that's a start.
And that was 20 years ago this year.
Yeah, so July this year we make 20 years in business, 20 years teaching, so pretty awesome, pretty cool. I always try to encourage guys. I don't force guys to compete, but I always say that but you should try to compete. You know, try it, and I say try it twice, because the first time is that you overanalyze it, you over-anticipate, you get all these nervous jitters, and you don't perform the way you should. So I said, you do that, and then you believe when I say it's just like training somebody else that you haven't trained before on the mat. So you train again, you try to do a tournament again, then you kind of go there knowing what to expect. And after that point, you don't like it, then never compete again. But at least you had a chance to try it, and you know, you have no veils over your eyes, and you can try it, and you see if you truly like it or not. And I said the other thing too is that the closest thing to basically defending yourself on the street is a tournament. You know what I mean? In fact, tournament sometimes is a little worse because you're training for tournament for 1 or 2 months, so you have the anxiety for 1 or 2 months. You're training the discipline, and you keep on thinking about the guy. You're losing sleep over it. Whereas a street fight happens, the guy bumps you or whatever, and then boom, you throw it on for a minute or two or whatever, and the fight's over. So you don't have that same anticipation. Yeah, but the ability for you to perform under pressure is one thing. And the other thing I like about tournaments is that you have to learn how to accept defeat. Yeah, and jiu-jitsu, unlike other martial arts, is basically forces you to accept defeat. You know what I mean? So I don't care how good you are, you're gonna get tapped, and you're gonna get tapped a lot. So if you're not humbled by the class and you get tapped in a class, then you get humbled in a tournament. You enter enough tournaments, you're gonna get tapped. So I think it keeps us grounded. It keeps us realistic because we're training 100% all the time. But it's all safe because we're not punching each other in the face and doing all this other stuff, right? So I always say that if Relson never felt that I was the black belt level, then I should never get my black belt. You know, and I was okay with that. If I never developed the technique he felt was mastery enough to order black belt, then hey, no problem. I would never ask that. I should never get a black belt from him. You know what I mean? And I just wait and be quiet. And we got offered by a bunch of guys to jump ship, and they'll give us our black belts. But I just feel like, you know, you're running a marathon and you did everything right. Like, why you want to screw up that last mile and you know, jump ship and take the easy way out, you know? And Professor Helio has this group of traits, yeah, in order that he feels that he should be a black belt. And I just kind of looked at that and I said, you know what, this holding me for so long before I got promoted, this is my last test, you know what I mean? So I test myself with Relson, make sure that when Relson teaches a class, I could teach a class, and that's the class I would teach. I teach in my mind before he did it to make sure I would catch all the details that he would catch. And then when I would teach it, I'd make sure that when he viewed my classes, that I would point out the things that he would point out in his class. So I definitely try to do my best to make sure that Relson understood that I understood his technique and progressing. I'm teaching his technique and preserving Relson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I think that's an obligation of a Relson Gracie black belt. Definitely you can go and expand the art, but I think it's important that you always have to propagate the Jiu-Jitsu that your instructor taught, preserve that, and then continue on, and then you can add more elements to it. But you got to make sure that, hey, I'm Relson Gracie black belt, so I should be able to teach Relson Gracie core techniques to everybody and spread it out. I'm just glad that the guys that I felt were my senior end, the guys who actually kind of mentored me, they got their black belt before me, like Coffee Deborah, Sam Mahi. Those kind of guys are the guys that I looked up to. Those are the guys that smashed me, kept me in line, and I thought, you start getting a little good, you start getting a little cocky, and then it pulled me on a side trim and just smashed me up, make me humble again, and then realize, hey, respect the power. No matter. I always felt my last test to him was stay true, stay loyal, stay modest, stay humble, wait your turn, increase your technique, show him that you know his technique, and when he's ready, you'll get your belt. The balance between sport jiu-jitsu and self-defense, that's kind of always a moving target for us. So Relson Gracie, by far, his whole thing is self-defense. He preaches that. You see any type of speech with him, and he's saying, and he speaks longer for 2 minutes, he's guaranteed going to say self-defense. I guarantee it. All these 100 interviews, self-defense number one. That's Professor Helios' thought in jiu-jitsu, self-defense. And Relson is 100% proponent of Professor Helios, so Relson's 100% self-defense. So he's always, his big thing is a submission, right? So you got to submit the guys, and sometimes what happens is you get kind of sidetracked and start training the sportive stuff. I think there's the part for the sportive stuff is it keeps guys interested. Excuse me. Keeps guys interested. It gives them a carrot to train for, and also gives them focus that makes them dedicated to kind of train for this little prize or whatever you get. And sometimes also the guys get hooked from the sparring. So it's important that you have that sparring, because a lot of guys came here, they tried the class, and the teaching was good and stuff, the techniques, but they really like the sparring. They like the feel of the competitive aspect of it sparring. So it's important to satisfy a student that way. But what happens is if you go too much in the sportive and stop touching the self-defense, then you start, as an instructor, you start getting afraid that I have a high-level blue belt or a purple belt, and if he gets attacked in the street, am I truly confident that he can defend himself, And if he can't, then that's 100% on us as instructors. So we have to basically be dedicated and make sure that we always come back to the root of the art of self-defense, and make sure the guys can properly defend himself. And I always say that you don't come into a jiu-jitsu academy and think, I'm going to be the next world champion, sport jiu-jitsu world champion, or Naga champion, or whatever. It's never like that. It's either I'm going to protect myself, or I'm going to kick somebody's tail. You know what I mean? Those are the two reasons why you start jiu-jitsu. And then along the way, you kind of get sidetracked and start doing the sportive stuff. So it keeps it fun, keeps it interesting, all these new techniques and positioning. But I think you definitely always have to come back and make sure, hey, if you get a headlock, can you get out of the headlock? You know what I mean? Somebody attacks you, is on top, and you're on the bottom. I always say a jiu-jitsu guy's not a jiu-jitsu guy unless they can fight off their back. Everybody's tough on top. Hey, put anybody. I can put Joe Blow on top, somebody on top, start punching. Hey, that guy's going to be tough. But somebody puts you on your back, can you defend yourself? That's the difference between other martial arts or guys who think they can fight and to me, a true jiu-jitsu guy. A jiu-jitsu guy can defend himself from the bottom. You don't have to necessarily with the guys that basically is surviving. You survive, you elongate the fight, and then maybe take advantage of it. But I think it's the instructor's job and the senior student's job to basically kind of take care of these guys and make sure that they have a good experience. They train hard, they train safe, but at the end of the day, everybody has to go work the next day. So our academy has kind of shifted a lot. So we actually have a lot of guys that's 35 and up. And realistically, as an instructor, as a businessman, I like it a lot because they don't have the attitudes, they don't have the egos of the young guys. The young guys, you constantly have to prove. You teach your technique, and you're looking at a guy, and the guy's like, I don't know if I really believe that's going to work. I'm like, okay, I can tell you, and that's the easy way, or I can show you, that's the hard way. And obviously, You know, right now I was thinking to do that, but it's going to assume time to come that I'm not going to be able to pull these moves off. And I think you have to kind of shift your balance of your instructing so that the respect you get from your students is based on your instruction, your support, and then obviously you have to slowly kind of ease your way off of having to prove on every single guy physically, because it's gonna fail. You know what I mean? And if you base your teaching on ability to prove on everybody and you start failing, your students are gonna lose confidence in you and they're basically gonna leave. Yeah. As far as training, I end up like just picking my battles, you know. So I don't train hard every single day. So I want to make sure I stay healthy as long as possible, you know, because you train hard 2 or 3 days in a row, then something. I always say I'm going to blow a gasket, you know, and then I blow a gasket, then I'm out for it's not only 1 week or 2 weeks. I can't roll. I'd much rather roll and then get a couple hard rolls in or whatever, and then train with other guys, and then I continue enjoying jiu-jitsu, you know, and keep it fun. I experiment with new techniques and stuff, and the only way you do that is just stay healthy. So you got to be more diligent with, you know, keeping yourself safe. And you know, I don't have the time to go out and run 3 miles and swim all on the beach like I used to and lift weights and all this to kind of get my body. You know, my exercise is jiu-jitsu. I come here and train jiu-jitsu. You know, so I want to make sure that I train safe, I enjoy myself, and I stay healthy. That way I can keep on progressing and help other people progress. Friendly, you know what I mean? You see guys kind of come in like this, and they start walking upright, and to me, that's the most rewarding thing as an instructor. Seeing the transformation. Like, champions are great. Don't get me wrong. I like generating champions, but more important is a guy who comes in that feels like he got beat up and bullied his entire life. You know what I mean? And then you start teaching techniques, and he starts surviving, and maybe he taps some guy, and you can see the guy's transformation. That, you know, he kind of comes in like this and then he just kind of carries himself. His shoulders are back, and you can just feel the transformation. To me, like, I'm even getting chicken skin talking about it. To me, that is the most rewarding thing about jiu-jitsu as far as instruction. Yeah, seeing the transformation of the guy, and the guys that, you know what, I always say, bullies pick on guys who are not confident. Yeah, you show yourself to be confident, a lot of guys are not going to pick on you. Yeah, so I like the fact of the transformation of guys and the confidence you get from jiu-jitsu, from going 100%. The guy tried to stop you from tapping him, and you tapped the guy and you made him tap. You made him submit. Yeah, and he tried to do everything he can, couldn't do it. That's the ultimate level of self-confidence, and that's the things that carry you out, and then you don't feel like you have to prove yourself anymore. You know what I mean? And you end up being more confident. I think it transfers to work, to school, to family life, and you just become a better person overall.